is the Doublet Special Master.
Live and direct.
Breakfast with CubCamTV.
Trickstar Radio.
Right then, friends, we're back inside the building. It's just gone 4 minutes past 9 here on Trickstar Radio. Thank you for joining us for the interview hour, the final section on Breakfast with Kovu, as we jump into conversations with different artists and producers from around the world, discussing what they've been up to. And today we're getting into a conversation with someone who has definitely stood the test of time with the sound he's been making, someone who I've been really, really keen to get on, and someone whose work I have reviewed numerous times over on Juno Download. We're joined this morning by Origin One. How are you doing, sir?
Easy, man. How we doing? I'm very good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, sir. I'm good. It's great to get you onto the show. I've been looking forward to this one. Obviously, we've been playing a fair few of your bits on the playlist, and a fair few of the remixes as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Each and every time, man. I'm really looking forward to getting into the conversation. And obviously, with this show, we do get guests on from, as I said before, a lot of different backgrounds, a lot of different kind of areas of underground music. So for those that aren't aware, do you want to give us a bit of background on yourself and kind of talk through, say, the earlier sort of side of Origin One?
Yeah, geez. Where do I begin? So, I started producing when I was about 14, 15, and primarily kind of focused around grime and dubstep back in Nottingham, where I grew up. And we started off doing dubstep with a label called PNG, which ironically is some of the guys from Conji, and who later turned into Chord Marauders and things like this. But just released a lot of 140. Kind of fast forward 5 years, and some of the kind of dubstep that we were making kind of started edging a little bit more towards reggae and dancehall. And then for me, it kind of just spiraled off into a complete different path. Back in when I was about 23, 24, kind of ended up falling into like a live show setting as such. It was like half sound system, half live show with 4 or 5 vocalists. Went and toured with those guys all around the world, did some shows in Italy, France, Germany. I eventually went to Tokyo. Did that for quite a few years, and then came back, and long story short, kind of crossed paths with Shep from Nice Up, and then the kind of rest is history from there, really. Kind of embarked on this solo journey of focusing on some more kind of production and solo-based stuff, but with some more international artists. In a very short nutshell, that's kind of a quick overview.
I mean, it's a great story. Straight from the off, it's a great story. There's so much that's kind of gone on there.
Yeah, man, there's a few more stems there. You know, there was a couple jungle aliases and did some stuff for True Thoughts on neo soul and hip hop. But reggae's kind of been my bread and butter as such for the past, 7, 8 years now.
I mean, with that, what do you think is the thing that's kind of drawn you towards that sound? Because I know we play so much reggae on this show. We have such like a kind of interweaving theme of, I suppose, system culture and Jamaican music throughout on this show in particular. So I know how infectious it can be. But like for yourself, what's been the thing that's drawn you towards that as a sound?
I don't know, man. I think it's just Nottingham is obviously a very multicultural city, as a lot of people know. You know, there's a lot of traditional Jamaican culture here with Radford and Hyson Green. It's always been something that's been in the background. Now, whether that's been through kind of grime and garage or jungle, you know, that kind of sound has always been something which is really prevalent in Nottingham. You know, we've got Marcus Garvey Centre here, and we had a lot of big, again, sound system culture. You got V-Rocket from Nottingham, and I think it's something that kind of seeped in. For me, that was just kind of my slight little twist on things. You know, obviously, I think that was a natural gravitation towards being in Bristol quite a lot. I find like Nottingham and Bristol have quite a few similarities with that as well. But the big thing for me was, no matter what music was, the sound system thing was always the focus. And I think reggae just kept pulling me back to that. I think, you know, the whole point of the first album and the whole ideology of the sound was it was sound system orientated music but with a twist. So even though, you know, maybe on a chart or Juno or something it'll be classed as reggae, when you actually go through the majority of the stuff, it's based upon reggae but then kind of goes off on a tangent a little bit. It's Definitely. Probably the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And as I was saying earlier, I've had the pleasure of reviewing a lot of your work for Juno. So when I get to see the stuff land, I'm at a point now where I know an Origin One release is going to be exciting, and it's going to have some level of almost dub-wise twist to it, but there's going to be a real level of originality going on within that. Like you've been someone who's been lucky enough to work with a lot of kind of, I suppose, important modern reggae vocalists and sort of vocalists that again do stem from that sort of system culture. Do you want to run for a few of the people you've been working with recently?
Yeah, of course. I'll kind of start from the album. So on the original album, I was very lucky to work with a couple of people I'd looked up to for a long time, i.e. Soon T from Glasgow. She was always one of my favourite kind of dub and reggae vocalists. You know, I used to see her tour with Mungos and stuff like that. She was absolutely amazing. Then kind of on the southern end, we had like Ira from London, which was really strange because we picked him up just when he kind of started finishing his lyrical weapon style stuff. So still very much grime. And then we kind of recorded My You. About 6 months went by, and then he did some tunes with Status, and it just went absolutely crazy. Then there has been, you know, like bit more local, like Parley B has always been someone we've worked with quite a lot, and he's kind of doing really well at the minute and doing stuff with Hospital and couple labels like that. I don't kind of know how necessarily some of these happened. They just kind of fell into place, really, which is positive. Like MC Spider's just around the corner, kind of just kept bumping into him, and eventually was just like, right, we're going to have to sort something out now. So it's been quite a natural progression, but I feel like I'm quite fortunate to have been lucky to have some of these literal, you know, veterans on the album. It's been amazing. And the next, obviously, I'll talk about that a bit later, but some of the bodies of work coming up, I've somehow been fortunate enough again to, have these people come work with me.
I mean, it's crazy when you do actually look at just the sheer volume, especially when we dial in specifically to that, to the album more specifically. Like when you were building that album project, was there ever a point you turned around and looked at the track listing and went, okay, wow, how has this happened?
Do you know what? I think when you're working on an album, you're so kind of driven and focused. I go into this studio mode where it's like phone off, stop going socials for a couple months and just get my head down. It wasn't really until, you know, you get that first vinyl copy in your hand and you start to look through and that, wow, this body of work's impressive. And more importantly, you become numb to it after a while. You know, when I had certain artists on tracks, you know, you're listening to it and mixing it 1,000 times, you forget kind of who you're mixing. And then when, you know, your friends and people are coming up to you and, you know, giving you props for working with whoever, you just kind of turn a bit of a blind eye to it after a while. But thinking back, I am very fortunate.
I mean, we're looking through some of the support that the album's received. It's definitely an album that has done, I feel it's done the job. It's made the point it was there to make. I mean, you've had the likes of obviously Don Letts, you've had Rodigan supporting it. How does it feel to kind of hear those names backing the project?
Yeah, absolutely crazy. Especially coming from Nottingham originally, you know, there's a couple of people in Notts, probably like Adam Prescott from Roast, is pretty much one of the only producers really that's kind of doing bits. And then when the first single premiered about, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago with Roddy, it was quite strange and everybody was calling me up and it was mad. And then the second one got premiered, then the third, then the fourth, and then Don Let's start playing it and Toddler, and it was just mad. Like, it was crazy. The first time obviously was a bit strange, and then after a while it became just kind of second nature. I think 6 out of the 11 tunes got premiered on Radio 1 or 1 Extra. So the amount of support we got was brilliant, man. So big love to all the guys at BBC.
I mean, listening through it, I mean, for me, obviously, having listened through it and seen just the pure sort of quality levels that are sort of resonating throughout the album, it doesn't surprise me, but it's still always really cool to hear that it has received that level of support that I feel it did deserve as an album. And obviously, off the back of that, we have now moved into, I suppose, the remix season, which is a couple of projects kind of showcasing different artists coming together and remixing the tracks off that project. We're going to get into one of those remixes next and then dive into the project more generally as a whole. And this one is the Congi remix of Dread and Buried. So do you want to talk to me a bit about how this one came together?
Yeah, of course. Like, if we go back to my early days, like I said, dubstep days, me and the guys from Congi used to run a label called Play No Games. Now we're talking a long time ago. And we kind of went our own separate ways, but have always stayed tight and always shared music and elements like this. And it was a real nice way to kind of loop things back around and get these guys involved, because the level of production is absolutely outstanding, as you'll hear coming up. So, yeah, big up to those guys for getting on board.
Awesome, man. I mean, this is a really good example of what the project holds. And as I said, we're going to dive into a more sort of detailed analysis of what's coming off. But, I mean, if you were to describe this tune in sort of like 3 or 4 words, how would you describe it?
year 4000. It's dark, heavy, brooding, but the level of production is absolutely immaculate. They've done the original some amazing justice. It's great.
Amazing. Well, I can't wait to get into it. It's just gone 13 minutes past 9 here on Trickstar Radio. Just so people are aware and people who want to kind of follow what you're doing, how can people find you on socials?
If you hit me up on Instagram at I am Origin of One, it's the same on Twitter and Facebook as well. I'll give you guys my link tree and give you some details when we're done.
Fantastic stuff.
Thank you
Awesome.
for that.
Each and every time. We're going to get into this one right about now, the Kongi remix of Dread and Buried. Keep it locked. We're live on Trickstar Radio.
This is Breakfast with COVID, bringing you them morning flavours on Trickstar Radio.
Trickstar Radio.